So today we have a Friday night football. Chelsea hosting a London derby against Fulham. And boy, I feel like this one is gonna be very heated. Chelsea ending their transfer window in Chelsea fashion, really. I mean, how much did they spend?
Too much.
323 million pounds.
Stealing two Arsenal targets in the process. They've done it again, Chelsea.
Come on, don't
Do
cry,
you
Noah.
think you think that this splash of cash is going to prevail against Fulham?
Well, that can create problems, If you have too much of a oversaturated squad, that can definitely create problems for the manager. They signed players like Mudryk, Badia Show, Enzo Fernandez, and actually a Brazilian guy too, Andrei Santos from Vasco. Which means Chelsea's bringing in a lot of great talent, but I'm curious to see if this investment will actually pay out. This could be a double-edged sword for Chelsea. It's too much money involved. And we're not sure if the squad's going to be oversaturated. They already have great players. Raheem Sterling, Havertz, Pulisic. It's not a great player, but you guys get my point here.
Yeah, I was about
You
to
know,
say that.
but I mean, too many great talents to manage at once. I feel like that could potentially pose a problem for Graham Potter. Not sure what you think, one sec.
Well, I don't know how they managed to register all these guys. That's a lot of players. But I mean, here's the thing with Chelsea, right? They're signing these guys to what, 8.5 year contracts, which is unheard of. I know that's a thing in American sports, free agent signings and whatnot. But 8 years is just unheard of. And like you said, it could go both ways. And this, I'm looking at it at a different angle. If they turn out to be the next Hazard or the next Modric, then great. They have them down to 8 year contracts. But then it's even then, if they do get to manage that potential, they're gonna want a better contract in the near future. So I mean, I don't know, but Chelsea have a problem right now with Deadwood, right? I mean, they were trying to offload Ziyech, Lukaku. He signed till 2026 and he's on loan. So it's just like, I'll be worried if I were a Chelsea fan, because to me, it just seems like they're just signing everybody that seems promising and without any much of a plan. Like, where's Enzo Fernandez gonna play? He'll play in the midfield, but is he at this moment what they absolutely need right now? No, because a striker was an absolute need. And I know there's just not many targets out there, but if you're gonna spend that much money, you might as well just go and spend that on a striker, which is the position you actually need.
And back to your point, those are actually promises, Those are not grown players, not that recognized. Like guys like Enzo Fernandez, he played a World Cup final and helped Argentina win the title. Guys like Modric, who was very exciting against Liverpool, very sharp, but still promises. So it could go both ways. What you think here now?
I also kind of want to look at this from a Fulham perspective. I mean, they've done very well this season. They're sitting in seventh place. I mean, they're doing very well. I feel like they could pose their own threat against a Chelsea side that's gonna kind of be, almost too new, like too many new faces. It kind of disrupts the rhythm. They're kind of, out of sorts at the moment. I feel like Fulham could go and really shake things up, actually.
Yeah, that's a good point. They're actually used to upsetting the odds, at least in this season. Like you mentioned, they're sitting in the seventh position right now. And with Chelsea having important players out, like Kovacic was actually out in the last match against Liverpool. He's probably not going to play against Fulham. And some young players still adapting, like Badia Show, like a Hall on the left side. Fulham could surprise us here, but I just see Chelsea coming up strong because they just had a 13-day gap since last match against Liverpool. So they're rested. They had plenty of time to train. I see Chelsea imposing themselves here against Fulham. You know, they're 10 points away from top four, which is not the end of the world for them. They're only gonna face one Big Six team in the next 10 matches. So that's the chance for Chelsea to ramp up, and actually fight for a top four position. So I'd see Chelsea taking it 2-0, I would say.
Well, yeah, you mentioned Badia Shield. I think he'll be huge, a tall man. In the center half, I think he's overtaking Koulibaly at this stage. Koulibaly's been poor, or I wouldn't say poor, just not up to his reputation. And that's going to be huge when you're dealing with a guy like Mitrovic, who didn't play against Chelsea in the reverse fixture, which was only 3 weeks ago, I believe. And it's funky because of what happened earlier in the season. But yeah, I think Chelsea will come out. They should come out with all guns blazing because they were embarrassed at Fulham. I know they had a player sent off, but they were embarrassed at Fulham. Yeah, Chelsea have to win here.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that because that was only the second time that Chelsea lost to Fulham since 1920. Oh, sorry, 1980, not 1920, guys.
Jano.
That's
But
funny
yo,
still.
big London derby on the way. Gonna be an interesting one. Moving on to an early Saturday fixture. My side, traveling to Everton. I am afraid of a new manager bounce.
This, we've experienced it twice already this season. It's about time Arsenal get to experience it. And
Oh
and
boy.
before we go on, just a show of hands, who missed this guy's voice? Because I certainly did not miss his voice. I'll tell you what, I did not miss that guy's, not just his football, but his voice. Imagine hearing that in training every single day.
Jeez. Jeez. But
But
anyways, on the footballing side, Everton also looking a bit weaker. They've just sold Anthony Gordon, one of their star players, really. So, how you
well,
thinking it's gonna shape up?
well, he wasn't contributing anyway. It's it's as if you cut off your toenails. I mean, toenails. It's crucial to you walking, right? But at a certain point, you don't need them. You need to cut them off, and that's what Anthony Gordon was. He was actually detrimental to the squad. With remember 4 months ago in the summer, he wanted to go to Chelsea. Then he came back. He came crawling back. He said he's going to sign a contract, but then when Newcastle came calling, he went MIA, and the guy has not scored a goal intentionally in his career. If you look at all his goals, all of his what I mean by this is all of his goals are by a deflection. And I mean, I guess he's and I don't know what it is. I'm not saying he's not a good player or he won't be a good player, but the guy's something's gone to his head and it's just not good to see. For a guy at that age, he's barely 2021, right? Hasn't shown anything, hasn't achieved anything. And for him to just I mean, it's Everton. I don't care, but if I were an Everton fan, I would be feeling some type of way about him, and a
Is
good
that a sorry? I was just gonna ask you if that a true stat. No intentional goals.
uh, that this was true as of September of this year. I don't know if it's changed since then, but yes.
Well,
That's a funny
well,
one.
he's not even in the side, so doesn't even matter for this fixture. Arsenal as well, looking good. Are we gonna turn the screw?
Well, I honestly don't see any potential threats here coming from Everton. We got to keep in mind that Sean Dyche is actually coming in, who's known for his defensive structure but poor creativity. So I don't expect big changes at Everton at the moment. I'm still seeing them struggling for the most part. They're probably going to be more rigid defensively, but they're still going to be creatively poor. They're going to be lacking those goals that they need. Not sure if they're going to concede like they did against was it against Brentford? No, was it against Brighton? They conceded 4 goals playing at home, which was incredible. I'm just not sure if that's gonna keep on happening, but I just don't see Everton, opposing threats to opponents like Arsenal. Arsenal can easily navigate through hostile atmospheres, versus Spurs and Man United, for example. Arsenal beat Spurs away and Man United at home, tying 2-2 in a tough match, and a match that meant kind of everything for at the time. If you lost that match, Man United will be officially in the title chase. Man City will be right there behind your back. So I guess that was the test for Arsenal. But Arsenal is going to be tested psychologically here again because they just lost to City in the cup. So that will be a test to see how the waters are going for the Gunners. Odegaard scored in the last 3 away games, so that's a good sign for him. And he scored at the Goodison Park last season. So I'm seeing a spark of Odegaard again, which is not going to be a surprise. But Arsenal can cruise, whenever playing away on hostile environments. They've shown us throughout the season. So I see Arsenal winning here with no bigger issues.
And you make a good point about Arsenal passing the test already, because it's something that in the past is something I'd be very worried about. Like, talk about like the new manager bounce. Sean Dyche is literally the last manager that I'd want to face on a new manager bounce, bro. Like, as you said, like physical, just defensively, just organized, solid, very like rough, gonna definitely play long ball. Like, it's just the last thing you want, especially away from home. And a past Arsenal, you would have definitely bet your house on them just crumbling to that. But now it's a different Arsenal. So I think that's a great point. I mean, Arsenal really can. This is another test. And this is something that I actually am believing we can pass. It's something I wouldn't say in the past.
Yeah, I think you will too. I think I'm gonna keep on saying it. I think it's Arsenal gonna win it. Not the game, the league. But I still feel that
Also, the
Everton,
game, though.
well, and the game, yes. But I also feel that Everton have something to offer against Arsenal. Ben White, his last game was against United 2 weeks ago, right? 3 weeks ago, and he was poor. I don't know what was happening. Maybe he was ill. You probably know better than me. He didn't play at City, understandably so, but I just feel that flank can be attacked with Everton's probably only attacking threat, Demarai Gray. And little do you know, they have 3 ex-Burnley players on the Everton side, and 2 of them were very good, Dwight McNeil and Tarkovsky. So Calvert-Lewin should be back. He will be much needed, that focal point for Everton. I think they'll have something to offer, but I just, how can you bet against the league leaders?
You simply can't. Moving on to your side now, taking on Crystal Palace. Albert Sambila Kanga just moved to Crystal Palace in a loan deal. Is it written in the stars for him to have a man of the match performance against you?
That's too
And
far-fetched, man. Too far-fetched.
I hope he plays because the guy's ass, bro. The guy's terrible. He won't play, so we don't even need to discuss him. A big miss for Palace. Wilfried Zaha, he got hurt against Newcastle in that 0-0 drab, as we see with Newcastle. I'm gonna start shitting on Newcastle because they're in the top 4, but their games are so hard to watch. Like it's a hard watch, but it's a big miss for Palace. Wilfried Zaha, we know what he can do, but they've rested for 2 weeks now since that Newcastle game, whereas we've played 3 games. I know 2 of them were pretty easy at home, Reading and Forest when we were 3-0 up already. But this is something that I read from the Ajax fans about the manager, that the guy doesn't rotate. And I was like, well, maybe because he didn't have enough players at Ajax. I don't know much about Ajax, right? Obviously. But the guy actually does not rotate. I mean, 3-0 up against Forest. Forest, their priority is staying in the Premier League. They've done very well to get to the stage, right? Semifinals. And yet this guy rolls out, quite possibly, barring one or two players, our strongest starting 11. I'm just like, dog, we have 8 more games coming up in February, or 7 more games. When is the fatigue going to catch up? And I feel like that caught up to us against Arsenal too, even, right? Losing that a bit of focus at the end. It's just, I mean, he's the manager. I mean, he's been doing well, so I gotta put some faith in him. But we know how this goes, and we're not even a young side like Arsenal. Our midfield is uh either 30 or approaching 30. Our wingers are, I mean, I guess early 20s. Rashford is 25, and we only have one fit striker. So at a certain point, it's going to catch up to us, and I don't think it'll be this game against Palace. Palace, I don't really think they stand much of a chance against us. Although we've only beaten them once in the last 5 years at Old Trafford, but that was, some of them are very odd, because if you remember 2021, we lost the Europa League semi-final, and then we only came back to play like 3 weeks later for the season opener. Very, very odd season, right? But Palace are a good side, but I just, they don't seem to know how to win, if that makes sense. They're a good side. They can grind out results, but they don't know how to win. And it's very hard to see them beating us at Old Trafford.
Well, I see your argument here that, could pose a threat to Man United given the lack of rotation within the squad. But just talking about Ten Hag's performance, it's been incredible. If you compare it to the previous seasons with the other managers, I mean, it's just incredible so far. At least for this latest matches, the last 36 matches, Man United only lost 6 out of those 36. And if you compare it to the Brentford period, whenever you guys lost the 4-0 shocking defeat to Brentford, I guess that taught you guys in general, or maybe Ten Hag, a great lesson. Because before that, he had 16 matches and 8 losses out of those 16 matches. That's shaky numbers. And now only 6 and 36 and playing the FA Cup final too. I mean, the momentum is in your favor. Aside from the Arsenal match, which Man United didn't play a terrible match, didn't play a bad match at all. But like you said, lacking focus at the end. I guess just a little more tired than usual because they were struggling for the whole 90 minutes. So for sure, your levels of focus are gonna decrease at the end. But I see Man United imposing themselves easily here. They're gonna play at home at the Old Trafford. I don't see any problems at all for the Red Devils, especially because Wilfred Zaha is not gonna be playing. But we should watch out for those inside clashes, inside the Man United squad. Remember the last match against Palace away? We saw Bruno and Anthony fighting, arguing, in the final minutes of the match.
So what did they say to each other exactly? You're a Portuguese speaker.
Yeah. I was laughing my ass off, man, because actually Anthony had the ball. He held the ball for too long. Bruno wanted the pass earlier. Anthony didn't give the pass earlier to him.
Right.
And then whenever Anthony passed the ball, Bruno wasn't ready for the pass anymore. So Bruno just shouted like, "Yo, pass me the ball earlier." And then Anthony got super mad and started yelling like, "You son of a bitch," and this and that in Portuguese. So I mean, you got to watch out for those, man, because those can rip your whole squad apart.
No, I guess on that, I mean, they're just saying what happens on the field stays on the field. I don't. I mean, we'll see if it creates anything, any drama or anything like that. But I think it's fine. But I bring this up because of Thiago's interview. I don't know if you saw this, but Thiago recently had an interview where he was asked why Liverpool were struggling, and he was honest. Well, I don't know if this is the answer or if this is the only answer, but he pretty much said, they were fighting on all 4 fronts last season, right? And they won 2 cups, of course, but they missed out on the 2 biggest ones. And he thinks that fatigue from that season is catching up. And that's the only reason why I bring this up, because I feel like their squad is built very similar to our squad. Um, a kind of an aging squad. You wouldn't necessarily say we're I mean, we are rebuilding, but we've signed a good amount of uh, I guess quote old players. Approaching 30s. Casemiro was 30, 31, approaching 31. So, but I mean, yeah, he's done a good job. I don't think anybody's denying that.
Two players I'm looking out for on a Crystal Palace side. Eze Olise. Yo, ballers. Look out for those guys.
Well, I'm not worried about Eze. Has been drifting in and out of games. He's not been effective in a lot of the games. That's why he didn't even start against us. Olise has had his annual world class moment, so he can go to bed, and hopefully not another a world class free kick.
I'm wondering if actually Weghorst is gonna play as a CDM like he did against Arsenal. That would be interesting to see.
Whoa, whoa. Speaking of your team now, you're
Can
traveling.
we please keep that, Noah?
I mean, bro, you're playing Wolves now. Wolves have been absolute shit this season.
No, 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 man. Just look at the
Did you watch?
latest matches right now.
Did you watch the FA
Bro,
Cup?
bro, you got this is the one you have to get points out of this one, bro.
Well, we also had to get points against Brighton and against Chelsea too. So I mean, I see what you're saying here. We definitely got to get those points, but I'm actually afraid, man, because Wolves they're increasing. They're showing a better performance game by game, and they showed us that great performance in 2 matches. Well, I'm worried because, like Wansak mentioned, the aging does it gotta be taken into consideration. Especially in an aging squad like Liverpool. You got to be able to rotate those players, and you got to be able to offer quality to your squad, so you can actually oppose threats to the opposition. I mean, if you have players like Keita and Oxlade-Chamberlain, like what kind of threats can you pose to the opposition? I mean, those guys, they got to leave as soon as possible, man. Others like Milner, Henderson, Joe Gomez, Nunez, they won't take us far this season. I'm not seeing them maybe taking us to top four anymore, man. I'm not sure. We actually only signed Gakpo in this transfer window. But
What
yeah, I mean,
what happened? 4 weeks ago, you were confident that Liverpool were going to make it into the top four.
I
Yeah,
was
walk
already
on
counting
no
on
for real.
I was counting on Jude Bellingham and Mateus Cunha, man. I'm not sure, man. It's just the momentum is not there for us anymore. Was for you guys. It is for you guys. For both of you guys actually, but not for Liverpool. No, we are kind of alive in the Champions League, so we can focus on that. But I would say if we finish top 8, I'm gonna be happy. I'm not gonna be as sad as I would. I just don't see Liverpool having enough strength or quality or depth in the squad to actually fight for a top 4 position anymore. That's sad, but it's true. Who are you gonna bring in if Liverpool's losing a match to Wolves? Salah is underperforming. Thiago is also underperforming. Fabinho is not playing as well as he usually plays. Who are you going to bring in? Milner? Like, I don't see many solutions for Liverpool, at least for this season. We got to make some bigger and better signings for the next season. And we got to focus on the Champions League for this season. That's what I got to say, man.
Yeah, I mean, I know this. I mean, you don't live in Liverpool, obviously. I know people who live in Liverpool, their opinions are different. Or, I mean, they love Klopp, right? Everyone in Liverpool,
I love Klopp too.
but you have to admit that these guys staying way past their welcome, like you mentioned, Chamberlain and Keita, are down to him. He's the one who wanted them to stay. He had the chance to sell them and bring in new midfielders, and he chose not to. Do you think if Liverpool continued to go the way they're going right now, I mean, do you think he stands a chance to stay at the club?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Not, it's just one bad season, you know? We got to think about Arsenal here. Look at Arteta's first few seasons at Arsenal. Shitty job. I mean, I had faith in Arteta, but still, underperforming.
You
And
had
no
you
is
had
no.
you had faith in Arteta because he got them finishing eighth twice in a row.
That's why
You
I'm
wanted
happy
him
with
to
the top
stay.
eight, bro.
But I mean, here's the thing though. The guy has shown this at Dortmund too. The guy fell off so hard. He finished seventh, I think, in his last season at Dortmund. It seems like this guy cannot last. I mean, we talk about Mourinho's 3-year cycle, right? He only stays at a club for 3 years. Maybe Klopp can't stay at a club for more than 7 years, which is, I mean, 7 years is generally a good range for a
That's a
lot.
long time, actually, for
Yeah.
real.
I mean, yeah, that's a lot of players' peaks, but you speaking of what 26 to 32, maybe that's your peak in general, right? And this is his seventh season. So I mean, is this a trend? Like, are you guys gonna go down even further than eighth? Are you guys gonna be in the bottom 10? Like, who knows? I know a
I don't
lot
see
of,
that happening.
well, we just don't know, right? I mean, I know a lot of Liverpool fans, including you, are going to be supportive of him. I mean, we have to also see what the new owners are going to be, right? Because FSG, they're known for that self-sustained model for a football club. But I mean, at this point, why would Jude Bellingham come to Liverpool, right? It's just unless I mean, he's not even born in Liverpool. He's from Birmingham.
Yeah, and he actually said he doesn't want to go back to England right now.
Yeah, so I'm happy,
Yeah.
but
I don't see Klopp leaving or him being sacked at the moment or at the end of the season. I don't think that's going to happen. I just think he's a little too hard on his ideas. He tries to, I mean, he has good ideas, but he tries to impose them until he can't anymore. Instead of backing off, understanding what's working, what's not working, like you mentioned, guys like Keita and Knox. Whenever you see those guys underperforming, whenever you see that they're not going to be able to, bring the quality that you need, just sell them, bring someone else. I feel like he's a little stubborn at times. I think you guys agree with me here. But I don't think that that's going to pose a bigger issue for Liverpool in long-term goals. I think he's going to stay. He has great ideas. He knows the squad better than anyone. You know, he helped develop great talents like Alexander Arnold, like like Robertson, for example. Those guys they grew under Klopp. So, like Firmino, for example, he was great. He was brilliant under Klopp, like Salah. But again, those guys you can't just give the kudos to the manager because it's actually they have the talent, right? But the manager was able to make them play well together as a team, as a collective, which is not happening right now. So he got to find new ideas. He got to find new solutions, which I'm seeing it's going to happen the next season, not this season, at least not in the Premier League, hopefully in the Champions League.
A manager who is good at keeping up with new ideas and new solutions and new ways of doing things. Adaptation is what I like to call it. Pep Guardiola. And that is why he's able to maintain at the top for so long with City, year after year. His side are traveling to them.
To one Sox favorite team.
oh, I don't want Tottenham to win this game because Tottenham are below us. I mean, I expect City to be in the top four. It would be nice to have one less competitor in Tottenham. Before, I mean, I want to say I don't know when he's going to be back, but Antonio Conte's had some kind of surgery, so he won't be on the bench for this game. I don't think, or at least for the foreseeable future. So,
Is
best
that a good
wishes.
thing or a bad thing?
Well, I mean, who knows? I mean, his training, everyone knows it's very intense, and it just hasn't been shown on the pitch this season. But they gave City a scare again 2 weeks ago. They went up 2-0. I know mostly down to City's own downfall, their own mistakes. And City really turned the gear on to score 4 in the second half. But I'll be scared if I were a City fan going to Tottenham, knowing their history. how somehow Tottenham always seem to pull a rabbit out the hat against City. And yeah, but I think Tottenham enabled City to turn their screws back on again. And I think City will have in their back of the mind that they need to actually step up this game, unlike any other games that they've played this year. And I think they'll be fine. I think they'll get a result here.
Well, talking about this comeback, I'm curious to know what you guys think. If that was actually City's merit, or was it just Tottenham's fault?
I think a bit of both. I mean, Mahrez had a good game in that second half, but I think that was also down to Perisic just being an attacker, not really a defender. I remember especially that one play where there was a long switch from the left hand side to the right hand side. Perisic tried to go for it, he just simply whiffs it, and that presented Mahrez with a chance to run at the defense and score with his right foot. So a bit of both, and maybe it was more down to Tottenham's poor defensive structure because City were poor against Arsenal too. But then that could also be down to Arsenal being a good team. But I guess, yeah, I'll just say a bit of both.
Noah, what do you make of Cancelo leaving the club?
I think it's a sticky situation because Cancelo, obviously, everybody knows, so talented. I mean, he fell off towards the end of his spell at City, but I mean, you could really consider that bad form or just maybe okay, a change of system doesn't suit him or a change of style. But I mean, this guy is a clear winner. When you see like some of the shit he says, he's just like, yo, I don't care. Like if I'm out the side, like tell me from now, because I'll go somewhere else and I'll play and I'll like show everybody how good I am, pretty much, you know? And yo, that shit is good still. Like to have that mentality and the level he's at, like he's incredible. However, I do think Pep and City got the best out of him and his style. So I think he was able to show the world how good he is. I feel like that was the best environment for him to do it. And he excelled. And I think he'll excel again at Bayern.
I think that just also shows you why City are top right now, or they have been top for a while, because at most other clubs, you would probably see the club trying to brush that aside and try to incorporate him into the squad. Whereas City, they're not taking no prisoners. I mean, Pep Guardiola said it too. He wants players who want to win, keep on winning. And maybe that's what's missing in that squad right now, because they've won so much. And it's such a difficult decision to make, you know. I mean, so what if he's out of form? He at his peak is the best fullback, or was certainly one of the best in the world. And for them to just let him go in the winter transfer window, I think that just shows you how well run they are. Although I don't think in this case it's to the best of their team's, I guess, structure. I mean, I guess in the long run, it's good to have that kind of cancer or someone being detrimental out of the squad. But you have to say, I mean, they're gonna suffer on the pitch because they just don't have enough depth.
Well, Cancelo leaving City and Tottenham signing Pedro Porro from Sporting Lisbon. What do you guys make of it? Does he have a chance to shine under Conte?
Yeah, he played for City and he went to Sporting. Pedro Porro, he's going to be ecstatic because he's getting double his wages. Now he has to compete against Emerson, which is he's probably going to win just by default.
Emerson scored a goal against City though.
That was also by default. I mean, if he missed that, I would have been very worried. But Pedro Porro, I'm not going to say I've watched him too much. I know he's a good talent. He's a promising talent, and we'll see. And I think that's who Conte really wanted. They signed Jet Spence against Conte's wishes last summer, and rightfully so. He went out on loan to get more playing time. But Pedro Porro, we will see what he can do. I mean, he brought in Perisic on the left-hand side too, right? Perisic has been underwhelming. He's dip, along with Son's decline in form, he's affected the team. I guess mainly Son in a negative way, where his attacking output has diminished by a lot. But I mean, having a quality wing back, we know how important that is for Conte.
So what you guys thinking? Final result.
City.
I want to go with a tie here. 1-1.
Tottenham concede twice to everybody in the league. You're saying City are gonna only score one?
Yeah, I mean, you just become more aware in matches like this, you know? I mean,
Well,
especially after City scored 4 in the previous match. I think they're going to be extra aware this time.
Make we see. Make we see.
They usually
Alright.
play with 3 in the back, which could be a problem, could be a huge problem. But I would say a tie because I do want to help you out here, Noah.
That's what we need. We need a draw. Or honestly, they might have to do it. They might have to help us out. They didn't the last time, but whatever. We'll take
So you're
it.
going to cheer for Tottenham then?
Nah, bro. We need a draw. We need a draw. But yo, we can run through a quick fire round still. Aston Villa, Leicester.
Leicester's defense suck at the moment. Aston Villa takes it easy. I would say 2-0.
Once what you got.
yeah, probably Villa.
Well, we got to remember that Danny Ings is out. He's going to join West Ham.
And he got injured right away. I mean, the guy just
Next
Crazy.
match.
Brentford, Southampton.
Brentford 3-1.
I'll go for a draw here.
Brighton, Bournemouth.
Oh, Brighton.
Brighton 1-0. 2-0.
I think that one's a given. Newcastle and West Ham, probably another given here.
Newcastle gonna be missing Bruno Guimaraes with the red card from the Carabao Cup. West Ham struggling very much, but I feel Newcastle. I don't think they'll win here, to be perfectly honest.
Me neither.
Wow.
I'll go with the draw.
Wow. That's a wow. And finally, Nottingham Forest versus Leeds, just signing McKennie, the American.
Forest.
Forest 2.
Ooh, wow. All right. Well, there you have it.